And today on this episode, we will be covering the AFC and NFC North.
It's going to be a very hard team to play against, not because they're a dominant team, but because they're going to go the extra mile to make sure you feel every single hit that they make.
If you were to take a poll across the league of who is the best running back core in the league, I think you get 99% the Browns with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and it's kind of saying something when Ryan Finley is Big Ben's daddy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how you feeling today?
I'm doing pretty swell. Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking how I'm feeling, not doing to try to get me off my game. But I'm hanging in. I'm excited for tonight, NHL expansion draft. They're kind of leaking picks right now, so it's a little annoying, and we're unhappy with a couple of decisions that we found out so far. But we're going to be talking about this on the Bolts broadcast. Make sure to check it out over there.
Yeah, initial reactions will be on the Bolts broadcast. We will be recording tonight after the draft. But today, WNP doing a football episode. We've got a special guest. We've got our Lions enthusiast back on the show. Graham Weaver, so glad to have you back. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's amazing to be back.
I'm glad.
It's been a long time.
It has. And today on this episode, we will be covering the AFC and NFC North. Usually we try to save this for last because it's our favorite teams, but we have a little scheduling conflict with the man of the hour next week,
Derek.
And also that's just the NFC West is just the best division. So it makes sense to leave it last. So the favorite episode is today. But quick, two pieces of news before we hop into divisional talk. Cam Akers, we'll start with him. He's out for the season, torn Achilles. I know it hurts a lot of people to see him go down. I'm not a fantasy owner of Cam Akers, so it doesn't hurt me as much, but it would have been nice to see him play, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like seeing like young players, especially, go down to injury. So it sucks. People on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's Darrell Henderson season, thank God." And I was telling you guys draft. I'm like, sure, you can take that victory lap, but take that victory lap by yourself. Don't go out there saying that. It's just a bad look, cheering on a guy's injury. So hopefully Cam Akers can bounce back. He's a young player, so there's still optimism there, but it's not very easy to come back from an Achilles injury. So, hopefully you can take this time, come back, and be ready to go next year.
Yeah, right. I mean, same as Mike, I don't own Cam Akers in any fantasy, so it doesn't affect me on that front. But just as an NFL football fan and a guy who wants to see the Rams do big things, despite the Lions' future firsts to hinging on that, I still want to see them push through with Stafford, and Cam Akers, I think, was a big part of that offense. So that it's definitely upsetting to see that. You hate to see it for any player, especially one with the promise of Cam Akers. So really wishing him a quick recovery.
Absolutely. And how dare you, Chase? I know the Twitter account you're talking about exactly. The guy came out, and the first thing he said in the tweet is, "I feel so bad for Cam Akers. I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery." And then he talked about the Darrell Henderson stuff. And you were one of those people that got on Twitter. You didn't actually, at least that I know of. You were one of those people that demanded he take down his tweet, because how dare him talk about, "Oh, I told you as a fantasy advisor to pick up Darrell Henderson." I don't know. And he had to come out and apologize for it and stuff. He literally said in the tweet, "I feel so bad for Cam Akers. I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery." What else do you want him to do? It's his job to give you fantasy advice.
It wasn't just that guy. I saw that one. That was fine. Exactly. I know exactly which one you're talking about. That was the first one that I saw. And then I started seeing a lot more things. I follow a lot of different random fantasy analysts, a lot of smaller people too, just because I try to follow a lot of dynasty accounts. And there's a lot of people that just their first reaction was, "Let's go finally, Darrell Henderson." He's been someone I've been hyping up all off season, and it's like sure, like that's fine, but like don't say let's go when somebody tears their Achilles or ruptures their Achilles, whatever the injury was. Like it's mostly to those people. That one that you saw, like it's fine, like if you're predicating it that way, and sure, and like you got to make a fantasy analysis, but to just be flat out like rooting for it, like no, I don't like that.
Yeah, and that was weird defending a guy from Fantasy Pros because I'm not a Fantasy Pros guy, even though Chase is. So, yeah, I understand that more. Next piece of news, we got Aaron Rodgers. He turned down a 2-year extension, which would make him the highest paid player in the NFL. He ain't coming back to the Packers.
Nope, he's not. Before this report came out, I was still I was on the fence, right? I wasn't sure if this was all for publicity or just to kind of get some things that he wanted done in the front office done, or what have you. Obviously he has different things that he is pushing for to get the Packers to do. That's at least that's what we thought, right? And then this report comes out, it was a deal that would have made them the highest paid quarterback in the league, and he turned it down. So it's not about money, it's about something more than that, and it's going to be hard. I really don't think that he's going to be back in the NFC North this year, at least with the Packers.
If you can't repair a relationship with millions upon millions of dollars, most in the NFL, millions of dollars, you can't repair your relationship with anything.
Yep.
100%.
All right, well, that's it for the quick little pieces of news. We're going to start with the AFC North. How about that?
All right.
Go NFC after?
All right.
Sure.
We'll wait on the Lions and talk about their big season coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Going to be exciting. But, yeah, we'll start with the AFC North and how this is going to work. If you haven't listened to our past 2 episodes, we basically just go through records for each team. Going to let you know who wins the division, who makes the playoffs, everything like that. And then we're also going to be giving a division MVP and a rookie of the division for the whole year. So it's going to be a good time. Let's start off with Graham's number 1 team in the division. Who do you got? What's their record?
I have the Browns as the number 1 in the AFC North. I have them going 12-5. With the extra added on game, it's somewhat of a 11-5 record from last year in my book. So it's a similar type season that they had last year, but I think that with some pieces that they've added, they can take a little step forward and go into the playoffs as the division lead.
Chase.
I have the Cleveland Browns as well, but at 13-4. So this team, it's pretty similar to last year. They've only improved. That they added Jadeveon Clowney. They had a pretty good draft. They've really only improved. So I see them getting another 2 wins, leading this division. Ends up being the 3 seed in the AFC in total for me. If there's a year for them to win the Super Bowl, like it's this year. This is when their team's best built for success. They're going to have a pretty expensive offseason, this season and next season. So really, they got to find a way to make it happen this year if they want to really do some damage.
And I've got the Browns second in the division.
Oh.
At 12-5, though. I think they are going to be a good team. And I like what they did with the defense. They needed a lot of help on the defense. They bring in John Johnson. Grant Delpit's coming back from injury. They address defense in the draft as well. So I am a fan of that. And actually, I think the Cleveland Browns are a sleeper defense to stream in fantasy leagues if your league does run defenses. The one thing that keeps me from thinking the Browns are going to be one of the best teams in the league, quarterback. How far can Baker Mayfield get them? I think Baker Mayfield is a solid quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think Baker Mayfield is probably, 3rd quarterback in this division behind Burrow and Lamar. I think that's what I would say, unless you're not a big Lamar guy. So Baker, can he get it done? Can he take an extra step with Kevin Stefanski, their second year? We'll see. I think the team overall going to be very good.
I think Mayfield's definitely a good enough quarterback where you can win with the team that he has. Like they can win a Super Bowl with that roster with Baker throwing the ball 100%.
I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Baker in the entire world, but I do think that he is a guy that can bring him to a Super Bowl and win it with the roster that he has with him, with his surrounding cast.
I think it could be possible. I'm not going to say that I think 100% he's that guy, just because he's going to have to go up against either a Mahomes or an Allen to even get to the Super Bowl. And then if he does get there, he's probably going to have to go up against the GOAT, Tom Brady, unless, the Rams with Stafford come out swinging. So it's going to be tough. I think the rest of the team is going to have to play outstanding for them to be able to get it done, just because the competition in the NFL has just continued to get better.
Yeah.
It really has.
Their defense is going to have to take a step up. They weren't very good last year. I'd say bottom half of the league. So they're definitely going to have to take a step in that direction to be able to live up to making the playoffs and making a push. So if they can do that, then you're hoping your offense can stay in the same area that they were last year in their good spots, and you're looking pretty.
Absolutely. Well, let's move to my number one team. I would assume these guys are probably your guys' number two team. We'll have to see. The Baltimore Ravens are my number one. Same exact record, 12-5. It just came down to the divisional matchups. As they go 4-2, the Browns go 3-3. So that pushes Baltimore ahead. I think Baltimore's a really good team. They're going to be run heavy. They're going to have a good defense. They've got a top 5 coach in the league, maybe top 7, if you don't think he's as good as some of the other guys that are bordering that top 5 rank. Harbaugh is awesome, and not Jim Harbaugh, not Michigan Jim Harbaugh, but John Harbaugh for the Ravens. He's an absolute stud. They helped out the defensive ends, bringing in Odafe Owe, so I'm very excited to see what he can do. And I just think overall, this team still going to be a dominant threat.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. They're still definitely going to be a threat. Dominant, I don't know if I'm going to go there. I got them 11-6, so second in the division. The 7th seed in the AFC, so they're making the playoffs. But I think their kind of ceiling has been the last 2 seasons. I don't know how much better they can actually get, especially with the defense. It is a shell of itself from when Lamar had his MVP year. So Lamar's going to do a little more, or I should say a lot more himself, throwing the ball. And then he's also going to have to try to figure out ways, he's still a successful runner, but he's going to have to find ways, to be a little more creative with his running ability, because it's going to be more expected. After 2 years of scouting, you're able to kind of adjust and game plan a little better. So he's really going to have to throw the ball a lot more. It's really going to, obviously it's not his call. It's whatever their offensive game plan is going to be. But they're probably going to have to throw the ball 150 times more this year, honestly, than they did the last year or the year before, in order to have any success, I think.
Yeah, I also have the Ravens as my second seed, or my second team in the AFC North, not second seed. But I have them at 10-7. So we're all within one win of 11 wins. So I think we all have a general agreement on their performance overall. I think that they played well last year as a team, and I liked their draft. I thought it was, B plus. So if those players can hit, you got a team that definitely could push to be the top seed or top team in the AFC North.
Where Chase was talking about, he thinks Lamar Jackson's just going to have to be better this year. I agree. He does need to be better when it comes to throwing the ball. However, at the same time, in the last 5 games for Baltimore last year, we saw not only Lamar Jackson, but the team as a whole take that big step up. And that recency bias definitely plays into it. But I think the fact that they were able to get over a slump, to call it what it is, I think they were 4-5, or 4 losses in the last 5 games before a 5-game win streak. To be able to get over that and Lamar Jackson to start perform tremendously, and he was a great fantasy asset towards the end of the season, that makes me confident that, again, they're going to be a pretty good team this year. And it's not really much of an argument, I don't think, just because we all have them hovering around, the 10-12 win mark. But I guess that's where I would say I think I'm confident that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will be better overall, because we saw them deal with adversity last year, and they were able to overcome it.
Fair enough.
All right, Graham, I want to know your number 3 team in this division. I want you to tell me their divisional record and tell me if they made the playoffs or not.
Now, don't get upset at me.
Oh,
boy,
right? I'm upset.
Don't get upset. Just calm down a little bit. I do have the Steelers as my third team. But I did mention before we started recording that I wasn't really confident in having them where I have them. I have them at 9-8. And I think that is a little bit overshooting where they should be, and where I think they will ultimately end up. Picking the matchups, it ended up being like that. But I really, for me, it comes down to Big Ben, and I don't trust him coming back from that elbow, and I think he's really going to struggle this year. I think he's very much nearing the end of his career. And they have some young wide receivers there with Claypool, with Deontay Johnson, with Juju. And you're really hoping that those guys can help Big Ben stay steady. And you're hoping that Najee can come out and play super well. If those things don't happen, then you're really going to miss the mark on 9+ wins. I don't have them making the playoffs, and I don't think that they will. So that's where I'm seeing them landing this year.
Absolutely. Chase, your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers?
So I actually have the Pittsburgh Steelers as my fourth team in the division, going 5-12 on the year, because I think everything falls apart this year. Ben did not look very good last year. I don't think got it done, despite him not really being there, and even when he was there, being kind of whatever. But they really had an extremely easy schedule to start the year. They went 11-0 to start the year, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I remember seeing something. It was one of the easiest schedules in NFL history. And when your defense is the level that it is, if your schedule's that easy, you're gonna march through those teams. It's kind of what happened. It's gonna be a different case this year. They're not gonna have as much success. The defense is still gonna be good. I don't think it's gonna be as good. Top 5 defenses don't very often repeat the top 5 the next season. So I don't think we see him as like a top 5 type defense, and the offense is going to be brutal. I think the passing game is going to be horrible because Big Ben just doesn't really have it anymore. Najee Harris, he's a talented running back, and he was my number 1 running back in this draft class for a reason. But I think his blocking is just so horrible. He's, if I just hope he can average 4 yards a carry this year. I'm almost nervous that he's not going to be able to. In terms of a fantasy asset, though, he's going to get enough volume where he's still going to be viable. But in terms of his efficiency, I just don't know if it's going to be there. I don't have a lot of faith in this team, really. Either side of the ball, a lot more in defense than offense. But if the if the defense struggles at all, it'll all really fall apart.
Yeah, and it's kind of saying something when Ryan Finley is Big Ben's daddy. Ryan Finley put Big Ben and the Steelers in the dirt. I guess Von Bell really put the Steelers in the dirt when Juju was doing his TikTok dances. But, I split you guys right in the middle. I got the Steelers at 7-10. And if I had to lean one way and think, okay, they're not going to go exactly 7-10, do I think they're going to be better than that or worse than that? I think I'd honestly lean better than that just because the Steelers, for me, I've been with them forever because I've been a Bengals fan forever, so I know exactly what they do. They're kind of like the Packers for you guys. When do the Packers have a terrible season? You're looking at them, you're like, all right, this is the year the Packers aren't going to be great. And then, sure enough, they still do pretty well and even make the playoffs at times. So I think the Steelers could be better than 7-10. If they do worse than 7-10, oh my gosh, I would love that so much. Are you kidding me? That would be the best thing ever. I think the defense is still really good. They got TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, who's the number 2 safety in the league. Not the number 1. People saying he's the number 1. Absolute joke. Jesse Bates, number 1.
Tracy Walker, number 1.
But yeah, the Steelers, good defense. Big Ben, he's going to struggle. I think this is his last year. That's why they brought in Dwayne Haskins, because he's going to be their new starter. I can't wait for that. The Haskins era for Pittsburgh is going to be amazing.
The shining gem.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Pittsburgh, PA.
He's going to be
Dwayne
like
Haskins.
Jameis Winston without the touchdowns. He's just going to have 30 picks, 14 touchdowns. Can't wait.
And that's what you want.
Yes.
That's what you want in the league.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm old enough to remember when the Steelers had arguably the best O-line in the league. Not that long ago, and now look at where we are, and you're putting Najee and Big Ben in a situation, you're just setting them up to fail, so yeah, that's pretty brutal.
That's a great point. Did any of us hit on that except for Graham just now?
I mean, I talked about how I think the running game is going to be inefficient because his blocking is going to be terrible.
Oh, okay. I probably just wasn't listening to you. Yeah, that offensive line, brutal. I hope Najee can do decent, though, like 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns or something. Got him on fantasy, so definitely want him to produce, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's talk about the Bengals now. We'll start with Graham because he's the lowest on them. He hates my Bengals, but that's understandable. I mean, when have the Bengals done something that made you think, wow, this is a good team?
Well, I mean,
They haven't.
You'll be surprised. They're last in the AFC North, but I have them at 7-10. So, if I look again at where I have the division, I think that the Bengals and Steelers, in a realistic way, could flip flop easily. But right now, I like, not love, their modifications to the O-line. They added some guys who can produce, who can be steady. The depth there is still a question mark for me. Mike, you and I, we had a lot of discussions coming up to the draft. Sewell or Chase, and I always fell on the side of Sewell because I want to see Joe Burrow have a strong O-line in front of him to produce. And I don't think they have a strong O-line, but it's definitely better than it was last year by leaps and bounds. So you're hoping that your offense comes out and is able to take a next step. With Joe Mixon didn't play as good as he should have last year. Joe Burrow played well until he got injured. And you add Jamar Chase to an already good wide receiver room with Tyler Boyd and Auden Tate in there. You got some strong pieces. So I think that their offense could be a force to be reckoned with for sure. I'll let you guys talk more about their defense.
All right. Well, I've got them at 9-8, 3-3 in the division. I had them at 10-7 before this episode, but I gave them an extra loss to the Ravens and help kind of flip that around. But I think they're going to take a step in the right direction, not necessarily because of Zach Taylor, but because Joe Burrow is going to be good enough and the offense is going to be good enough where they're really going to kind of carry these teams. It's going to be kind of a shootout type of year for them, like a lot of higher scoring games. The defense is still pretty ugly and really needs to improve on itself. That's something that's going to happen over time. This Bengals team is far from truly being a competitive team, but I think they're bound to squeak out some wins. I kind of in the same boat as Graham. It wasn't a bad pick either way, whether you went Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell, but I would have went Penei Sewell. T. Higgins has kind of shown himself that he can be an alpha receiver in the NFL, and you really don't need two of those guys on your team. It's nice to have, but at the same time, it's not necessarily the best way to build a roster. So it would have made a little more sense for me to go Penei Sewell, but at the end of the day, Jamar Chase is going to be a pretty dominant receiver in the NFL, and it's going to, help create a pretty potent offense this season, I think.
And I think they're very different receivers, though. So, that's completely fine to go both of them. T. Higgins is more of your jump ball type of player, red zone threat. He's not the fastest in the world, and I think he knows that, and I think really anyone that watches him knows that, where Jamar Chase, he's going to be that guy that's able to spread the field, which is good, because the Bengals, when it came to 20-yard plus passes last year, last in the league. They were terrible at it, and it doesn't help that A.J. Green, he was really bad last year, so I think that helps. And I have to say, I really respect Graham, not you, Chase. Really respect Graham when he's coming out and saying that he thinks the Bengals should have gone Sewell, but he understands why they didn't, and he thinks the offensive line is upgraded from last year. There's people out there that just piss me off. They just, oh, you didn't get Sewell. Your offensive line sucks. Your Joe Burrow's going to get injured. Nothing's ever going to happen for you. It's one offensive lineman isn't going to fix the total offensive line. It enrages me.
No, I agree with that. But if you can get a young piece, a 20-year-old offensive lineman who has shown what he has in college at this point, I think that's a hard player to pass on. Where, you sign Riley Reef, that's a 1-2 year fixed max. It's not a long-term thing. So you really got to hit an offensive line either in free agency or these upcoming drafts, which is not the easiest thing. Offensive line is very hard to hit on. So, if you got a chance to take that guy, I think you should. But it's not like it would have made enough of a difference. It's still going to be one of the lower offensive lines in the league. It's not hard to improve on the offensive line from last year because it was disgusting. So they're definitely going to be better. I think Burrow's going to have more protection, but it's still not going to be what you want for your superstar quarterback.
And I think when we look at, I would rather a 1 to 2 year fix plus the receiving core of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and then your guys underneath, Auden Tate, and a couple other players. I think if you take Jamar Chase out of there, you're no longer talking about the Bengals as a top wide receiver room in the league with just T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Auden Tate. All those guys are slow. Like, I think Jamar Chase brings a little extra oomph. So I'm okay with the 1 year or 2 year fix. Also, one of the biggest things that I don't see enough people talking about, and it's really only Bengals fans that are talking about it, so that's probably why I'm going to talk about it. Frank Pollock comes back in as their offensive line coach and their run game coordinator. When was the last time Frank Pollock was here? Oh, I think it was 2018 when Joe Mixon led the AFC in rushing yards, when their offensive line wasn't 30th or worse in the NFL. He made a big difference, and when we fired him and brought in, I don't even remember the clown's name, Joe Mixon was devastated, and we saw Joe Mixon wasn't able to produce with this other guy. I think it was Callahan. No, Callahan's our OC. I don't remember his name. Turner. I think it was Turner, Jim Turner.
Speaking of OCs, it still infuriates me to say they didn't hire Joe Brady. I thought it just would have made so much sense. Like, it makes me so angry.
It definitely would have been nice, but I think Zach Taylor, he won all the offensive play calling, which last year, calling for Zach Taylor's head until the Steelers and Houston game. I always talk about I need to see a spark, and I didn't see it up to that point. But then when you're able to take a game off of the Steelers and the Texans, and the Steelers were at the time, I think, 11-1. So at the time, able to take a game off of them with Ryan Finley, and then able to beat Deshaun Watson with Brandon Allen, that was enough of a spark for me to be okay with him coming back. So I am excited to see what he can do with the offense. I think the offensive line is going to be better. I think Joe Mixon's going to be good. The whole offense is going to be good. Just what can the defense do? Aside from Jesse Bates, I'm not very confident in anyone there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, that's it for our divisional talk when it comes to records and everything, but we got to get into our MVP and rookie of the division. So, Graham, I'll let you start with your MVP pick, and then we'll swing it over to Chase.
I'm going to go against the grain here.
Oh.
I have a couple guys.
Okay.
A tandem. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are my AFC North MVPs because, you got a top five, arguably top three running back in Nick Chubb. And I would say you have the best complementary back in the league in Kareem Hunt. I think that if you were to take a poll across the league of who is the best running back core in the league, I think you get 99% the Browns with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And I think if the Browns live up to expectations and take the number one spot in the AFC North, I think that it'll be because of these two guys. You don't have a ton of confidence in Baker. I like Baker more, but Baker's really he's not much, if anything at all, without these two guys running in that backfield, just shredding defenses. So I think these two guys are the key to the Browns' success.
I like that pick a lot, and I will say, just so everyone understands, this is, again, MVP of the division, not someone out of the division that we think could be the MVP of the league. So, because when it comes to MVP of the league, quarterback is almost always going to win that. But MVP of the division, Chubb and Kareem Hunt do so much for their team. I absolutely love the pick, Graham. Chase, we'll swing it to you.
Yeah, so it's really between two guys for me, and these are also the only two guys that coincidentally I think have any chance at winning, like actual league MVP of this division too. I'm gonna lean Joe Burrow. He's the only reason that the Bengals are gonna get 9 wins from my stats. Like, he and let's put it this way: if they make the playoffs, it'll be on the back of a Matt Ryan MVP season, because that defense for Matt Ryan was atrocious. Kind of the same thing here. I think Burrow has that ability in him. I think he could have that kind of season. I'm not saying he will, because it also is difficult to just predict that. But I think he's gonna he's taking steps forward. I think he's gonna end up being the best quarterback in this division this season, and really the guy that makes the most difference.
I am seeing a lot of hype for Burrow and T. Higgins being second year breakouts, the sophomore shine. Would absolutely love it. Not gonna put my money on it. I'll go Lamar Jackson. I think they're first in my division. I think with the running ability, and hopefully he's able to take a step up in the passing game. And they brought in guys. They brought in Sammy Watkins. They brought in Rashad Bateman. They brought in Tylan Wallace. Those three should help alongside of Marquise Brown to make him a little bit more efficient when it comes to the passing game. So I'm going to go with him. I think he could be a top 5 quarterback again when it comes to not regular. I say top 8 quarterback, because there's really good quarterbacks, but I think he could be a top 2 fantasy quarterback is what I'm trying to get to. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to rookie of the division. Graham, we'll start with you again. Who do you think could come out and be a key piece to their team year one?
I love this guy coming out of the draft. When I was sitting there watching the second round of the draft, and I saw my Lions on the board, I wanted them to take him. They didn't, but I like where he landed. And that would be Joker, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He was my second linebacker in the draft behind Micah Parsons. The Browns last year, they ranked 25th in defensive DVOA. And, I would be surprised if you guys could name 2, maybe even 1 of their starting linebackers. Can you?
Well, I know Schobert's not there anymore. He was in Jacksonville.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Was Mac Wilson one of them?
Nope. No.
Is Jadeveon Clowney playing linebacker or edge in that?
Who?
Just
Jadeveon
linebacker.
Clowney.
He was on the Titans last year.
I can tell you.
I thought you were talking about for this season. For last season? Okay,
Last
I got you. Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
I can tell you. It's B.J. Goodson,
Good.
Malcolm Smith, and Sion Takitaki.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah. They weren't a force to be reckoned with. I got to tell you.
Shocking.
Yeah, right. So you throw Joker in there, and I think that he's going to play a big role on that defense. And it wouldn't surprise me if he has a big year.
See, I fear he's going to have an Isaiah Simmons type of year, because he's that tweener type of prospect. Exactly what Isaiah Simmons was, and he didn't get much use for the second half of the year. I think it's going to be the same kind of thing. They're going to have to figure out what they want his role to be specifically in the defense, because it's hard to be a a jack of all trades in the NFL on defense, because defensive coordinators, they don't like using you like that. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to find his role, and all said and done, he could finish the season strong, but I don't think the start's going to be good enough where he could get that true rookie of the year recognition. The only guy I truly think, I shouldn't say the only guy, but the one guy who I truly think has the best legitimate chance is going to be Najee Harris, because he's going to have such a high workload. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 3, top 2, maybe even number 1 in just running back touches in general in the league this year, because they're going to need to run the offense through him a lot. He's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of rushing attempts. He's easily over 300 rushing attempts and 350 plus touches.
I would be absolutely cool with that as a fantasy owner of Najee Harris. I want to go back to your point real quick about Joker and Isaiah Simmons and everything. Cliff Kingsbury is a trash coach.
Oh yeah, I got something to say about him for the hot takes episode.
Okay, cool. I think Kevin Stefanski, he's going to be like, I want the best players in, and B.J. Goodson or whoever they have at linebacker, not going to be one of those guys. They have a good safety unit. They got Grant Delpit. They got John Johnson. And I'm sure that they still have some players rolling over from last year that can play at safety. So just play Joker at linebacker. I mean, he's probably a top 7 player on your defense. I mean, they got some really good players, but he's probably a top 7 player on your defense, so put him in the lineup.
For sure.
Simple as that. I think Kevin Stefanski will do that, hopefully. If not, then maybe he's not the coach for them. Maybe they didn't actually find the guy. But yeah, Chase, love the Najee Harris pick. I'll go the other guy that is pretty popular, and that's Jamar Chase. AJ Green had over 110 targets last year. That's all going to Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase is going to be much more efficient with it than a 33-year-old AJ Green is.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the vacated targets like that. Like, yeah, that's fair, but it's not like you're going to be throwing the same amount of passes every year. Things are bound to change. They could be throwing the ball a lot less because they're more competitive in games. They need to use Joe Mixon more. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be all in on him getting 110 targets, for example. But he's the type of guy who could probably handle it as a rookie. So I don't want to say it's out of question, but just there's a lot of options to throw There's a lot of options to throw the ball to in that offense. So I don't exactly know what his role is going to end up being.
I will say this with Joe Burrow in the lineup, and that helped when it comes to how many targets they're getting this year versus last year. Joe Burrow only played 10 games. So the targets went way down. When Joe Burrow was at the helm of this offense, they were, I think, second in passing plays, like in every situation. When it came to passing plays percentage, when they were leading, they were first in the NFL. 57% of their passing plays or 57% of their plays were passing plays, even when leading. So I think that he's going to have plenty of targets to succeed. And I think that Joe Burrow we saw him, his second game of the season. He put up like 47 attempts. So I think that he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. And
I thought it was more than that.
It might have been like 60 attempts and 47 completions or something.
Yeah, I don't think so. I thought it was in the 60s, though.
Could have been.
Attempts, legitimately.
But yeah, like they passed the ball a ton. So I would not be shocked whatsoever if Jamar Chase can get to the 1,000 mark threshold.
Yeah, but plus something that we haven't mentioned is, Joe Burrow already trusts him. He was like, go get me my guy, Jamar Chase. And they already have a cemented relationship. And Joe Burrow trusts him to go out there, catch the ball, and make a play. So I think that that's a big thing. And it's going to allow Jamar Chase to see more targets.
Yeah, and just in OTAs, Burrow came out and said that he feels like the connection is already back between them. So that is definitely a helper. But guys, let's move over to the NFC, the lesser of the conferences. And the lesser of the division.
Yeah, no doubt the lesser of the divisions. I wouldn't say the lesser of the conferences.
This was a division that, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, we were talking, this is a top 3 division in football.
Yep.
And boy, oh boy, how it's kind of crumbled.
Yeah.
Stafford no longer there. Aaron Rodgers most likely not going to be there, as we talked about a little bit earlier on. Turned down that huge extension. Who's going to be the quarterback in Chicago? Is it going to be Andy Dalton? Will Justin Fields get on the field? Or are they going to go back to Nick Foles? He's still there in the system. Who knows?
No.
But let's talk about it. Let's go first in the division. What's their record? Chase, we'll start with you.
I've got the Minnesota Vikings first in the division. This is with Aaron Rodgers not playing. I fully expect him to not play for the Packers this season if he plays at all, so you can't factor him in. The Minnesota Vikings win the division at 9-8. Yeah, I don't have very high expectations for this division. Spoiler alert. Excuse, I can't talk today. Every team is within a win or less of each of the person above them in this division. So, keep that in mind for the record. It's going to be a pretty close division. I think the Vikings, at the end of the day, without Aaron Rodgers in, are the only team that's a legitimate playoff team at this point. And I still don't even feel amazing about them. I think they're going to take a step, forward from where they were last year, but only so much. I don't know how much of it they can truly make. This division is looking pretty ugly this season.
Graham, your thoughts on? Let's go with the Vikings. Let's start with the Vikings.
All right. Well, it's a good thing that we went with the Vikings because they are my first team, and I also have them at 9-8.
Oh.
So I agree with Chase. Honestly, with Aaron Rodgers on his way out, we're pretty sure, and the mystery quarterback situation in Chicago, and obviously the Lions. I only see Minnesota coming out as a favorable team to win the division. It's Dalvin Cook. It's Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen.
It's Kirk Cousins.
It's Kellen Mond.
Right.
Legend.
But yeah, this division is going to be pretty brutal to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I originally had Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers at, it was either 10-7 or 11-6, I can't recall. But when the news came out that he turned down an extension to make him the highest paid player in the NFL, that made me think, okay, he's not coming back, so let's change my predictions here. So I've got the Vikings number 1 at 9-8. Does it sound like I'm repeating myself?
Full consensus.
Yeah. So it's a good team. It's not a great team. I think they have some holes on their offense and defense, and they got a tough schedule. They play the NFC West. If you're playing the NFC West, you're not going to have a fun time. Let's just say that. I think they can do some damage, but I think their defense needs some help. And I think it was Chris and Johnny. Were they saying top 10 defense or top 5? Top 10?
I don't know, it's not.
Yeah, if they said top 5, I would have bet literally if I lost, you could burn me at the stake.
Honestly,
if they didn't.
I don't even think this is, call me crazy, but I don't see this as a top half defense. It might be, but honestly, I don't think it is at all.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
I think they'll be top half because I think Mike Zimmer is just a really good defensive coach. How do I know that? Oh, he was DC for the Bengals. Oh, yeah, my bad. No, but they've got some holes, so I definitely don't see him top 5, but I think they were saying top 10. Which, could it be possible? Sure, but I would only bet top half. So
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know if it was Graham and Alec or just one of the two, whoever it was last year, saying that the Lions' offense or defense is going to be the top half or whatever, when it just literally
Wouldn't surprise me if it was me.
It was last. It was
Wouldn't
literally
surprise
last.
me if it was me.
Yeah, it was like, no, dude, it's not good. I remember in the group chat, but I know at least in the group chat, you guys were both typing at me.
Alec was on that same train.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
dude, like, look at these pieces. All these guys are taking a step forward. Like, you're really going to count on 9 guys taking a step forward? No, it doesn't happen that way.
Well, it also was terrible because I think you could probably say about 0 of them took a step forward because they were all put in situations to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that Matt Patricia stuff in a little bit here.
Yeah.
But I remember texting Chase. I'm like, dude, these guys, the Lions are not going to have a top half. And he's like, dude, I know. I'm like, I'm just not going to say anything in there. I don't want to start anything. But, all right, let's start with a number 2 team in this division. Is it Chicago or is it Green Bay?
It is Green Bay.
Okay.
I have Green Bay at 8-9, actually going 3-3 division. I think Jordan Love is actually a decent quarterback. I liked him coming out. He had a disappointing season entering his draft year, but the previous season he showed a lot of flashes in college, and he still showed some flashes in his draft year, but just kind of underwhelming in terms of production. The team as a whole, it's solid, nothing like fantastic. Aaron Rodgers really what puts the team over the hump at the end of the day, but I think Jordan Love is a good enough quarterback where he probably could start on a couple teams in the league. If he goes to Green Bay, I don't think it'll be like a horrible transition. It's going to be, time to readjust and kind of, replan, retool. But he can go in and he can play well enough with the pieces they have on offense, with the defensive piece that they have to go out and get, anywhere from 6 to 10 wins. I'm at 8 and 9 there, so I can lean more towards the middle. And if I had to go one way or another, I'd say more towards the lesser wins. But I still think it's going to be an okay enough team with Jordan Love at the helm.
All right, Graham, what are your thoughts on Green Bay? Where do they sit in your division, and what's their record?
I do not have them second. I have the Packers sitting at 3rd. I have them going 5-12. I am not a fan of Jordan Love. I think that he is going to be quite bad. And he's in a good situation. You got Devontae Adams there, the best wide receiver in the league, arguably. You got Aaron Jones, a very, very good running back. A.J. Dillon's there as a good complement. But still, if you don't have the skill to get it done, it doesn't really matter who's around you. They have some elite players on that defense. So they definitely could be higher than 5 wins. But if Aaron Rodgers isn't there, I don't see a bright future for them this year. Or, to be frank, not anywhere in the near future. And that puts a smile on my face.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that Green Bay as a whole got worse this year, and that's without factoring in Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they lost their Pro Bowler, Corey Linsley, their center. He goes over to L.A. So I think they just got worse overall. And then if you lose Aaron Rodgers too, that's not going to be a fun time. I've got them third in the division as well at 7-10. I think they still are competitive, but they're not a team that is going to take a majority of their one-score games. I think they're going to be dropping those because Aaron Rodgers, he was always that guy that would toss up the Hail Mary and somehow it would work every time, and it was annoying. They're not going to have that anymore without Aaron Rodgers. So, decent team, competitive team, not a team that wins a lot. So 7-10 for them, third in my division. Graham, let's talk about our second in the division, the Chicago Bears.
Well,
or
I have my Detroit. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was like, wait a second, did I just misspeak?
The Bears, second place, 7-10. I think that it's all about, to me, how long Justin Fields takes to get on the field, and that's all on Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy, he said that he doesn't see a situation where Justin Fields is out there week one. And I think that he is going to play he's going to play Andy Dalton for
16 weeks.
For a number of weeks where Chicago fans are going to be quite upset.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my predictions, I started the Bears out pretty bad. I had them losing a handful of games, and then I thought, in the middle of the season, I think that Matt Nagy would hear the fans and see Justin Fields on the sideline ready to go, and he would put him out there. And then it still takes, a few games for him to really hit his stride, a couple games. So I still think they're going to be better than the Packers. I think they have a better overall roster. And they have a better quarterback in Justin Fields, in my opinion, than Jordan Love. So, we'll see how it turns out. But I'm hoping, well, maybe not me, I'm hoping, because I don't want the Bears to be good. I don't want anyone in our division to be good. But as an NFL fan, or if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you're hoping that Justin Fields gets out on the field as quick as possible. So that's the situation with the Bears.
Absolutely. And Chase, before we go to you, breaking news: Fred Warner, 5-year extension, $40.5 million in guaranteed money, $95 million overall. So one of the best linebackers in the league, if not the best linebacker in the league, gets a big extension there. But Chase, let's go back to the Bears. Your thoughts on them, and maybe talk about where Graham was saying at the same time. When do you think Justin Fields could get on the field?
Yeah, so that's kind of my main thing here. I've got him third in the division. In case you can't tell, at 7-10, so same record as Gabe Ram over there. So I think first 4 weeks of the season they go 0-4 and in an ugly way. So they're going to be losing to the Rams, the Bengals, the Browns, and then the Lions. And losing to the Lions is going to be that final straw. Andy Dalton gets to the yank. Justin Fields goes in. Oh, look, they win 4 of the next 5 games. They only lose to the Bucs in that span. Actually, I take that back, 5 of the next 6, because I forgot, there's a second half of the schedule here.
True.
So I don't have, I don't have a lot of faith that Justin Fields going to be able to take the starting job early, just because it seems like Matt Nagy really wants Andy Dalton to be his dude to start. But it's not like Andy Dalton's necessarily going to be like a horrible quarterback, because he's still better than Trubisky and Foles. So like it's going to be improving on the quarterback position from last year. But I think last year I don't know how they got as many wins as they did last year. I'm just gonna be flat out honest. I don't think I think they kind of lucked their way there. I don't think that happens this time around. So Andy Dalton, being his average 200 passing yards and 1 touchdown that he's gonna put up in each game, it's not gonna be good enough for them to win. And then the Lions are gonna end up gonna outwill their skill. That's the wording I'm looking for. And in week 4, and that's really where the final straw is going to be.
I have to say, if they keep Andy Dalton through the first 4 weeks and drop all 4 of those, if Nagy doesn't put him out versus Vegas, he's going to lose his job. But I'll say this. I honestly think that if they drop their first 2 games and lose to the Bengals at home, they might start thinking about it and be like, oh, we got the Browns in Cleveland next. Let's not put the rookie out for that. But we're definitely thinking about, going with Justin Fields for the Detroit game in general. Like, I could see him starting against Detroit. I could also see him starting against the Bengals. But I think that's, Nagy, he came out and said, Andy Dalton's our starter week 1. Like, terrible.
Yeah, I mean, also you could look at it as like, all right, we don't want Justin Fields to get absolutely embarrassed and mollywopped by the Rams week 1, because that's what's going to happen to the Bears. They're gonna lose by at least 3 scores. I will safely bet that right now. If I can go onto my sports betting app and I can find a spread that's like 20.5, I will take that, and just probably crazy odds this early in season, but I don't care. I would do it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what that spread would be. But I don't think I said my Bears record. They're 8-9. I've got them second in the division. I think their defense is pretty solid, and Dave Montgomery, pretty good last year, especially towards the end of the season. And I really like Justin Fields, so I think he can do some damage. And they're able to beat teams like Pittsburgh, who's terrible, and beat teams like the Giants, who are terrible, and all that kind of stuff. So I've got them at 8-9, but now we get to the fun part. We get to talk about the Lions.
The fun part.
Yeah, I want to hear from Graham first. Let me know the positives of the team, the negatives. What should Lions fans be optimistic about? What should we kind of settle our expectations for coming into this season? And then give me the record.
Okay. Well, if you're a Lions fan, there's not very much to be optimistic about this year. But it was designed that way. They're not trying to be good, despite what they might say to the media. They're trying to, see what they have in their young players, get guys out on the field, put them in situations to see what they can do, and get a good draft pick in the meanwhile. But there are some guys that have promise that will be fun to watch. You got DeAndre Swift going into year 2, should make a big step. You have TJ Hawkinson, Pro Bowl tight end, and he should continue his rise into the elite ranks if he's not already, has a foot in there. You've got Penei Sewell and a really, really promising O-line with Taylor Decker, with Frank Ragnow, the best center in the league, in my opinion. And then on the defensive side, it's a lot of the same from last year. Some guys have gone. Some new guys have shown up. You're really hoping that Jeff Okudah makes a big step in year 2 as well. And you're leaning heavily as a Lions fan on the coaching staff and the promise that these guys, these former players, can come and coach these guys up in a way that the previous staff never was able to. The previous staff, they put players in positions to fail. They asked them to do too much, and then when they did something good that wasn't taught specifically to do by the coaching staff, they got railed for it. So you're really hoping that you can see some hints of promise from the coaching staff, from your players, and you're not going to have a good season, so just understand that. I have them 4th in the division. I have them going 3-14, 1-5 in the division. So it's going to be a tough year to watch, but we know that we hope that there's good things lying ahead in the years to come.
If there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? And Chase, I hate to do this, but I got to cut you off again because we have another signing, Darius Leonard, 4-year extension, north of $19 million per year. So had to get that out there. 2 linebackers getting paid.
2 great linebackers.
Great and young linebackers. So
National Linebacker Day, apparently.
Yeah,
apparently.
I guess so.
Well, Chase, let's hear from you about your Lions season ticket holder. I think you're the most optimistic amongst the 3 of us. So maybe you're the new Lions enthusiast.
No, I have the Lions. Maybe I would be surprised if any of our friend group has them higher than me. I have them at 6-11 this year, going 2-4 in the division, beating the Bears both times because screw the Bears. But yeah, it's not going to be because they're a better team than whoever they're playing on the field. I just like you look at their schedule and odds are, every single team they're playing is better than them. But that Miami team from, was it 2019? Same thing. This, like, every single team they played, they were significantly worse. They were a horrible roster. It was more of a will over skill type thing. At the end of the day, I think that this coaching staff is doing all the right things so far. It's the most optimistic I felt about a coaching staff because of where these guys have been so far. The type of coach that Dan Campbell's going to be. It's not it's not a Lions coach before. Like all the Lions coaches, they always had their hands on the offense or the defense. Dan Campbell's just going to have his team or have his hands on the team management, which is what I like out of a head coach. I like the coordinators doing their jobs. So the fact that this is kind of a complete different culture than the Lions have had before is what's got me optimistic. They're going to end up squeaking out 6 wins because Jared Goff is still a good enough quarterback to win with. The pieces around him are where it's pretty lacking. DeAndre Swift, T.J. Hawkinson, they're going to get a lot of work this year. We're going to see young guys like Quintez Cephas and Amon-Ra St. Brown get some receiving work. I do think that Tyrell Williams and Brashad Perriman have some work as well, though. It's going to be, it's not going in a good way, but it's going to be what the Patriots did with Tom Brady. I remember one game he threw 9 passes to 8 different receivers for his first 9 passes of the game. I think it's going to be that kind of thing with the Lions. It's going to be, if you're feeling it right now, you're out there. Like they're going to use whoever's feeling it, whoever they think is best in the situation, not just necessarily get this guy playing time because he gets paid more money or get this guy playing time because he's younger. It's going to be everybody's getting a chance, and it's just going to be a lot of, testosterone propelling them to these wins.
Yeah, I realized as Chase was talking that when I was explaining how I felt, I really sounded like a Debbie Downer. but I am really excited for this team. Because of what it can be. I love this coaching staff. Brad Holmes coming in as GM and having his first draft, having his first offseason was really awesome to see. I love the culture change that has gone on. Just, even the small little things like with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, we knew nothing about the team. They would never come out and say, it was always coach speak, really vague answers and whatever. But these guys have come out, they've, let us in on a whole new perspective on the team. And I have them at 3-14, but they could definitely reach 6-11 for sure. I could totally see that because of this coaching staff, because of the young players that have already been very good, but will take another step. Like Chase mentioned, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I love him. He's going to come in, be your starting slot. He's going to get a ton of work. And you have a lot of promising guys on defense. And 2 first-round picks over the next 2 years. I mean, obviously the Lions are my favorite team, and I've never been more excited about the team when I know that they're going to be bad.
And like all the stuff that's going on social media, everyone's just hating on the Lions, and like understandable. It's not, a very good team. So I get why you have your doubts, but all the players are seeing this. Like teams don't get hated on this much, like ever really on social media. This is one of the most hated on teams I've ever seen going into a season. Like there's nothing positive being said really anywhere. And all these players, they see this stuff, like you're mentioning them, their team, like they're seeing it on Twitter, they're seeing it on Facebook, Instagram, wherever the hell they are. And it's extra motivation. It's going to make them play, that much harder. They really got to prove something. They understand that at this point, and you're just, showing that they need to prove it more and more and more. It's going to be a very hard team to play against, not because they're a dominant team, but because they're going to go the extra mile to make sure you feel every single hit that they make, or that they fight for every extra yard they can get.
Is it by their own fans, or because I haven't seen Lions hate? I'll be honest, I haven't seen it like anywhere on Twitter and stuff. But again, I don't follow like a bunch of Lions stuff. So is it by their fans? Is it by just like national media? Like what do we?
Oh, it's national media. I follow 1,400 people on Twitter, and probably 800 of them are football related accounts, legitimately, because like I'm trying to, especially with how invested I am in fantasy football, I'm trying to stay on all the news that I can, try to get as much updates as possible. In the fantasy world, everybody hates every single thing about the Lions, which I get. But at the end of the day, it's not just the fantasy people. I'm seeing, like experts trying to say the Lions are just guaranteed to be a bottom 2 team. Them and the Texans, nobody else can even sniff that, which I just think is flat out not true. I've seen way too much stuff. Anything I see going forward, I'll make sure to send you guys so we can get our extra motivation as well. So we can be yelling a little bit louder when we go to the games. But yeah, it's starting to really annoy me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even the simple thing of, Stafford leaves, goes to the Rams. Last year in the league-wide poll, he was not a top 10 quarterback, and now I think he's 6 or he's top 5. He's top 6 at least. And then Jared Goff goes from, in the teens to, I think, 31 or 30. And it's like, okay, I get that their situations have changed, but just because a player leaves the Lions and just because a player comes onto the Lions doesn't mean that, one has gotten way worse and one has gotten way better. I'm a big Stafford guy. I love Stafford. And I think that he is a top 6 quarterback, or at least he could be. And I've been banging that drum even when he was on the Lions. So it's nice to see that he is finally being recognized as that. But I've been saying that, and Lions fans have been saying that forever. And Jared Goff comes here, and people are like, man, this guy sucks. And he's not. He's more than serviceable. And I'm super excited that we were able to get him in that trade. And I hope that he's able to do good things in Detroit. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be super excited if we draft the guy in the next year or two, but he's not as bad as the national media has been saying that he is.
I have to say that is really annoying from an outsider looking in. The Stafford situation, incredibly annoying. We did our QB ranks last year, and I know all of us had Stafford in the top 10, yet social media last year, national media, they wouldn't have agreed with that, but now they do. I think that is really annoying. I can't get on the back of the Jared Goff thing because I didn't think Jared Goff was very serviceable in LA. Since the back half of their Super Bowl season, I thought he was terrible. Like, he looked really good the first half of that season, and that helped them get to that Super Bowl. But since then, I've always thought he was a very below average quarterback. So I think coming in with the Lions, I don't have that optimism. I even told my grandpa that yesterday when I took him to a doctor's appointment. And he's like, you don't like Goff? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I think you guys need to get a quarterback in the next 2 years.
So I don't remember where I was reading it, but I was reading something that had a lot of analytics. It wasn't PFF, I'm not subscribed, but it was like PFF type of analytics on Jared Goff. And when he's not under pressure, he was ranked as like a top 5 passing quarterback in the league. But the Rams offensive line, they had some injuries, had some struggles, the last couple of years, and he was getting a lot of pressure. And under pressure, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So with the Lions offensive line, I think is legitimately top 5 in the NFL, and I will safely say that it could be even higher than that. There's enough reason to believe that alone is going to help him get the pressure off his back, and he can kind of find some efficiency. But it's not like it's necessarily going to be anything just dominant, because he's not going to have amazing guys to throw to. But Jared Goff is going to be better than everybody is saying he is. Like he's not going to be as bad as everyone's saying he is. I can guarantee that.
This is where I'll disagree. I'll throw in 2 points at you. First point, Anthony Lynn, not the same play caller as Sean McVay. I don't think that is. I think it's getting overstated. I know that Sean McVay is great and everything, but I think people using that and only that to change the quarterback's projections, I think is terrible. Another thing that I think is really important to look at is look at the Rams wide receiver core versus the Lions wide receiver core. They have to get separation for Goff to be able to throw them the ball. He's not just going to sit there and be like, oh, he's not open, but it's 2 seconds, I got to throw the ball. So he's going to have to sit in the pocket longer, and no matter how good your offensive line is, you can't have a quarterback just sitting there for 6 seconds. He's going to get hit. So I think the play calling, I think it's going to be not as good as Sean McVay, plus the wide receivers not being to the level of Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. I think he's going to struggle.
Those analytics, too, they did factor out intentional throwaways and dropped passes. So, there's going to be a lot of drop passes in the Lions offense. There's going to have to be a lot of throwaways because guys aren't getting open. So, it's going to be a smaller sample size for Goff, this season in terms of those types of analytics. But like he's not going to be bad because of himself. He's going to be a solid enough quarterback, and if he's any bad, it's because of like the weapons that are around him. I will safely say the last reason the Lions will be bad is because of Jared Goff.
So you're saying over the next 2-3 seasons, you're not interested in getting a quarterback in the draft?
Not in this draft class.
But over the next 2-3
draft class, I'd consider it. Just because, like at the end of the day, if you finish building this Lions team where you want it to be, he's going to be north of 30. And I mean, if at that point, just hold on to Stafford and accelerate the rebuild a little bit quicker if you can with this staff. Like, so clearly, they want to do their own complete thing. And I just don't think Goff will be that guy at the end of the day. I think he's someone who's going to hold you in place. He's going to help keep you competitive. He's going to help, sell some seats because he already is an NFL quarterback name. So I think it's going to help for, at least this season and maybe even the next season too. But like in the 2023 class is where the quarterbacks are really special, and the Lions still aren't going to be a good team by then. So at that point, if you have a top 5 pick, you have to take quarterback.
I don't know. I think the Lions are aiming for the 2023 season to be a team that's truly competitive in the conference. Whether or not they get there, that's the big question. But yeah, I think Goff is a guy who can be serviceable. I'm not saying he's top 10. I'm not saying he's top 15. I think for me, he's somewhere in the late teens to early 20s. That's where I kind of see him in the league. This offense isn't surrounded, or it's not built upon him, in my opinion. You have guys, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson. Those are the guys. Those are the focal points of the offense. Jamal Williams, you can toss him in there as well. And with the great O-line that I think we will have, and with some great blocking from our tight ends, I think he will be more comfortable than he was with the Rams, allowing him to take time and make reads. I think he will be better than he was with the Rams. By how much, I can't say. Not much, I don't think. But he is a bridge quarterback. There is another quarterback at the end of the bridge that we're going to be taking, I think, in 2023, like Chase said. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I don't think that he is a terrible quarterback by any means.
You should have saved that for the hot take episode. You think Goff is going to be better with the Lions than he is the Rams? I think that's a hot take.
I do think so.
So I'll say we are on an hour 7 minutes right now, so we're going to try to speed this up a little bit. I want to say, I'll get it out of the way first. My record for the Lions, 4-13. So better than what Graham has them, worse what Chase has them. For some reason, I look at their schedule and I had them beating the 49ers week 1. I'm like,
yeah,
what was I doing?
It's going to happen. Yeah. Put your bets on it. I'm telling you.
You know what? It might, because at that point, Jimmy G starts week 1. They lose. They bench him. And Trey Lance goes on, wins rookie of the year.
I'm telling you.
Not going to happen.
Put your bets on the Lions week 1.
So, yeah, I've got them 4-13. I think that they could get to that 5-6 win mark, because I've got them losing to teams like the Broncos. I think they could sneak one out over the Broncos. But I want to say, and this is going to be kind of my last point, is Chase, what you were talking about, 3-4 minutes ago, it felt like me 2 years ago when I was like, no, I don't want to freaking draft a quarterback in the Tua class and the Jake Fromm class, Jacob Eason class. I don't want any of those quarterbacks. Let's wait a year, get Trevor Lawrence. You're like, let's wait at least a year. You think, oh man, Chase Young, Derek Stingley, Clayvon Thibodeau. Man, give me one of these great defensive players. Sure enough, the Bengals took a quarterback. Who knows what the Lions do, but that's what it feels like for me. I'm like thinking, this is exactly where I was at 2 years ago.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's a
Joe
difference.
Burrow's good.
Yeah, there's a difference between Joe Burrow college football season compared to what we're probably going to get this year. It's still going to be a funky college football season with guys sitting out last year. There's going to be guys adjusting. Teams are going to be a little, they're going to be a little unorganized at least to start. There's a chance that somebody has a hot start, but at the end of the day, no one's going to have a Joe Burrow season. There's some quarterbacks that people are talking about can, have that type of jump or maybe even have like a Trey Lance type season, like Malik Willis is a guy that has that sleeper talk. But like, you're not having a Trey Lance season playing Division I college football, and you're not having a Joe Burrow season that was literally a record-setting one-time year. And then Trey Lance, I mean, even at the FCS level, that was a record-setting one-time type of year. Like, both those things aren't happening again. Like, sorry, hate to break it to you guys. And in this quarterback class, there's some guys that could be good enough starters, but I don't think anybody has a chance to be better than a good enough starter in the NFL though from this class.
I am pumped for Sam Howell this year. I hope he does a better season than he did last year. He kind of had a sophomore slump in comparison to what he did his freshman year. So very excited to see what he can do, and I like him much better than Spencer Rattler. I know a lot of people have Spencer Rattler as the number one right now. Just to wrap up the Lions, it's going to be a tough season, but stick with it because the Lions are doing all the right things. The number one positive, Patricia isn't there anymore. The front office, the coaching staff, they're doing it the right way. They're bringing it in all together. They're coming in to believe each other. Like, to restart all at the same time, that's what needs to happen when you're a bad team. If you do it separately, you bring in your GM or your coach first, and then a year later, you bring in your GM or coach. Like, that's just all going to fumble and crumble apart. So the Lions are doing it the right way. It's going to be a hard season. Stick with it. They're doing the right thing. I really like their direction.
100%.
But let's move on to our MVP talk. Who do we have winning the MVP of this division? Chase, I'll let you go first.
It's Dalvin Cook and it's nobody else. Like, I have this, the Vikings going 9-8 and being the best team in the division, and it's going to be on the back of Dalvin Cook having a fantastic year, and that's not even that great if you're having a fantastic year only going 9-8. But Dalvin Cook will get a lot of receiving work. He's going to run the ball, as much as he does. He's going to continue getting the work that he always has. He's a very talented running back, and there's just nobody else in this division that's looking like they're playing right now that can even really sniff this for me.
Graham.
Yep. I thought the same way, Dalvin Cook, but I wanted to switch it up a little bit, so I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. Vikings, my number one team in the division. Justin Jefferson is the number one. It's not Adam Thielen anymore, or if it ever was, with Stephon Diggs when he was there. Justin Jefferson, super talented guy, gonna hopefully do similar things that he was able to do last year, and that kind of. The problem I have is Dalvin Cook. He doesn't rely so much on Kirk Cousins, but Justin Jefferson has to. So that's where I am a little wary, but I still think that he could do big things.
And I'll just change it up. I don't want to say the same guy, so I'll go Khalil Mack. He's one of the few guys in the NFL that you think about him, oh yeah, he could get 15-plus sacks every year. He had a down year last year. I think he could have a resurgence, so I'll just throw it out there as Khalil Mack. Let's go to Rookie of the Year. Chase, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Graham.
So, it's Justin Fields. The only other player I have, even on my list, is Chaz Surratt. I think he's going to end up playing a majority of downs for the Vikings, and just out of just straight necessity, because I don't like their linebacking group, and I think Chaz Surratt comes in is one of those better guys. But at the end of the day, the guy who makes the most impact as a rookie is Justin Fields, and it's just not going to be close. I don't care how many games he plays, as long as he plays more than 5. I guarantee he's just going to be the most impactful rookie in this division.
Graham?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Justin Fields. I mean, it's all about when Matt Nagy gets him on the field. He's going to make a big impact. To me, he's a smaller Cam Newton. He's got speed. He's got accuracy. The problem is if the Bears O-line doesn't give him enough time to make his reads, he could struggle a bit. But I think he is a very talented guy. But I'll throw another one out just because Chase said Justin Fields already. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Little sleeper. He's not going to be a Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be a big piece for the Lions offense.
You know who I like better than Amon-Ra? Ifeatu Melifonwu. I would take him Rookie of the Year over. But I got to go Justin Fields. Honorable mention, Eric Stokes. No, I'm just kidding.
Eric Stokes.
Eric Stokes. Yeah, no, terrible pick. Not going to happen. Justin Fields, the obvious choice here. And that's going to do it. So anything you guys want to say? We are running on time. Anything you want to say to our lovely listeners?
No.
Okay.
Hang in there.
Hang in there.
Hang in there, NFC North fans.
I like the message. All right, well, that's going to do it for the show. We want to thank you so much for coming out. If you want to stay up to date with us, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. It's again on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. Our Instagram and Facebook will also be linked down in the description. You can follow us there. If you're listening on YouTube, if you could give us a like, comment, subscribe, let us know what you think about our predictions, and make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. If you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could follow us and rate us 5 stars, we would really appreciate it. That's going to do it for the show. Thanks so much for coming out. And as always, we're not professionals.